And hello teachers and good afternoon, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, no? And welcome to our Saturday stream. Baka lang po may nagtataka sa inyo teachers, bakit po na-late tayo ng start for today, no? Kasi usually our Saturday stream starts at 2 p.m. Okay, so unang-una po is that I have an event, no, prior to this session. Okay, I had my TEDx talk kanina, 1:30 to around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, no. So I can't be streaming, no, during that time, as well as our speaker as well, no. requested for a different time slot. Pero teachers, okay, normally again, we'll be back no to our 2 p.m. Saturday stream in the coming weeks po no during our February series yan. So maraming salamat po no for still being here no kahit medyo na-move yung time slot kasi alam ko malamang no routine wise medyo syempre ano tayo no na napalaban yung routine natin for a Saturday. Okay? Pero thank you for still joining us here at our live stream. But of course, for those who will not be able to join and will be doing the replay for this, good afternoon din po, magandang araw, and thank you for watching this session. So what do we have today? It will be our second installment of our February series. No, this will be on designing ICT-based resources using the SAMR model. Yung SAMR model is something that we have used for quite a long time. Alam ko po for our public school teachers, mga DepEd teachers natin, kasama po ang SAMR model no sa isa sa mga COTs natin. Okay? So familiar po ang ating mga teachers sa SAMR model na pagdating sa technology integration. But for today, what our speaker will be doing is now applying taking like a more pragmatic approach to SAMR model, no? Because we've always looked at the SAMR model, we've looked at its definition, its as a concept, but how does it actually being used in order to produce or to design ICT-based resources? And that's what we're going to talk about and what we're going to cover for today. But before we do that, let's do a very quick shout out to our teachers in the live stream. And I'd like to greet as many as I can. Kaya lang ang aga ng ating ng ating mga teachers. So as early as 2:06 p.m. I think sila yung mga yung routine wise nagbubukas na kagad ng YouTube at chine-check na kung may live stream sa Kaagapay Teacher Support. No, ayan. Kaya 2 p.m. pa lang si Teacher Maria Ana Fes Malinog is already here. Teacher Patricia Yvonne P. Katungal at 2:11. Okay? And of course, Teacher Romel Rosita from Batangas, okay, our early birds, okay, together with Teacher Jeffrey Beltran. Good afternoon po sa inyong lahat. And of course, I'd like to also greet Teacher Jeneline Asbok, No Dax, Pastor Manny Garcia. Blessed afternoon po. Always blessing our sessions by Pastor Manny Garcia. Teacher Angelica Cabarlo, Teacher Joseph Odelon Hermetanyo, I'm really looking forward to meet you, Teacher Joseph, okay? Because Teacher Joseph has always been one of our avid viewers, parang every episode, every live stream, he's always here, very active, engaging, in our session. Okay, Teacher Rose Malen na nagbukas ng napakadaming accounts, okay, para mag-subscribe sa ating channel, Kasi po, teachers, kakapasok lang po natin, we just reached 75,000 subscribers na po tayo sa ating YouTube channel. So hopefully, teachers, yung mga hindi pa natin subscribers, please do subscribe. For those who, baka you can also invite your co-teachers and your community to subscribe to our channel para mas malayo po at mas marami tayong marating. Okay? And of course, Teacher Edna Despi, Angel Rose, good afternoon. Teacher Mary Grace Castillo, Teacher Harry J. Peñafel Supan, Teacher Christina Turla, Teacher Jason Cruz, Teacher Gemma Rivera, Teacher Carol Sombria, our student teachers from PUP, Teacher Angel Rose Martin, Teacher Almi Catherine Asuro, Teacher Jason Borlaza, Teacher Andy Padernelia, Teacher Gary Giliedo, Teacher Princess Reyes, Teacher Daniela May Macale, Teacher RM, hi Teacher RM, Ana Lizelle, Teacher MA yan. Medyo nagkaroon lang ng problem sa schedule before si Teacher Tess, pero ngayon nagbabalik loob. So Teacher Tess, welcome back to KTS. Okay, Teacher Normela Blanza, Teacher Angela Alunos, Teacher Rodelyn Moreno. And of course, Teacher Francis May Antonio, Teacher Maribeth De La Cruz, Teacher Rhea De La Cruz, and Teacher Mary Grace Tuhon. Magandang hapon po and welcome to our Saturday stream. For the rest na hindi ko po nag-greet, Good afternoon po and thank you for being with us here at our live stream. Okay? Yes po, Teacher Gary Galledo, no? Teacher Benver Cricks, no? Papunta na rin po tayo dyan. Sana maabot po natin yung 100K subscribers na yun. But of course, we're not going to focus too much on that, okay? As we have always do, no, sa Kaagapay Teacher Support. That's just a bonus, no? Okay? Because we're just going to continue what we're doing in providing you professional development opportunities and also educational materials for your use as an educator. Yan. Okay, so but if it comes to that point, nakaabot po tayo 100K, we will be celebrating that with you. Okay? So maraming salamat po. Okay, so teachers, let's now get into our session. Okay? And let us discover more about the SAMR model in a more practical way in applying it to design ICT-based resources. And it is my honor and of course, always a pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. Okay? And our speaker for today, Mr. Reggie Boy B. Fabro, is a Google for Education certified trainer and the leader of the Ilocos Norte Google Educators Group. He is a professor at Mariano Marcos State University, College of Teacher Education in Ilocos, where he teaches professional education and major courses, as well as information technology and computer technology. He has been conducting professional development training on educational technologies, gender and development, as well as the development of instructional materials with an emphasis on ICT integration. His previous Google training included the DOST's Community Empowerment Through Science and Technology, or CEST. He lectured for the Institute of Global Professionals and the National Academy for Professional Skills Development. Mr. Fabro is the founder of the Ilocotech Support Group, a nonprofit organization comprised of educators dedicated to advancing the professional development of Ilocos teachers. Let us welcome into our stream for today, Teacher Reggie Boy Fabro. Ayan, hintay natin. Teacher Reggie, good afternoon. Baka lang nagkaroon ng konting problem si Teacher Reggie sa kanyang internet connection. But anyway, nasa Teacher Reggie. Okay. Good afternoon, Teacher Reggie. I think nagkakaroon lang ng si Teacher Reggie, no? We'll just wait para mag-stabilize ang kanyang internet. Teacher Reggie, you might want to turn off your camera first para mas mag-stabilize lang yung inyong internet connection. Ayan. Can you speak now again, Teacher Reggie?
Franco.
Yan, we can hear you a little bit. Medyo choppy lang ng konti, Teacher Reggie, pero kumusta po?
I'm alright. Can you hear me, sir?
Ayan. Medyo, lang, Teacher Reggie, ng konti, no? Medyo nag-choppy lang ng konti. Okay. I think medyo nagiging sobrang challenge natin ngayon, no? Nitong mga nakaraang episodes natin. Sobrang lagi tayong nagkakaroon ng problema sa internet connection. But anyway, we'll get back to that, no? As soon as mag-stabilize ang internet connection ni Teacher Reggie. And mukhang okay na, Teacher Reggie?
Okay.
Yan. Okay.
Can you hear me, sir? Am I audible?
Medyo lang, Teacher Reggie. Medyo choppy pa rin ng konti. Ayan. I think we can let go na with the video, no? And let's just have the audio para we can save some bandwidth. Yan. So teachers, again, while we're waiting for Teacher Reggie to have his connection stabilized, please do share also, no? Let's make sure that we light up our chat with all the ideas that you can share. Pag meron po kayong mga ideas about resources that you've been developing or that you have developed using ICT, please send that also in the chat, no? And we will try to so that we can also learn from each other, no? And share our resources. You can also put the links of your resources in the chat so that people can access them. If you have YouTube channels, that you want to also share, please do let us know. Okay. And while we're waiting now by um, uh, for Teacher Reggie, let me first invite you to our next episode, no, that will be on Thursday, okay, next week, okay. This will be on digitizing productivity with Google Workspace for Education, together with Teacher Romeo Rabahanti Jr., no, the LMS administrator of Ateneo de Zamboanga University. Okay, ito naman, teachers, Teacher Romeo will be sharing with us, no, tools, okay, um, using the Google Workspace for Education, and how this can help us in digitizing productivity or increasing productivity. Mukhang okay na si Teacher Reggie, no? Let's put Teacher Reggie back into this. Teacher Reggie?
Hi, Sir Franco. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can hear you now very, very clearly. Okay.
Okay, so I will just off my camera so I can able to proceed with
I
my
actually,
presentation.
Mr. Reggie, even with your video, your audio is good. So I think we can proceed with your video and with your presentation online.
Oh, so it's okay now, sir?
Yes, sir. Okay na. Sir Reggie, before siguro I give you the floor, no, is that can you give us first an overview of what the teachers will be expecting from your session today?
Okay, Sir Franco, thank you very much. Before I give my overview, I would like again to say or good afternoon to my colleagues who are watching with us today, to the Mariano Marcos State University. And of course, there are also practice teachers coming from the TV-led department, and that includes my ICT students from the third year, second year. So good afternoon, everyone. So the overview of this session for today, my dear teachers, is that I will give you some tips and some opportunities for you to learn and how to use the SAMR model for you to integrate in your lesson planning, as well as to be able to give you some tools and applications that are in demand in the new normal. So that's it.
Thank you, Teacher Reggie, and I'll give you the floor now. Good luck on your session, Teacher Reggie. Teachers, don't forget that this is a certified session, so it means you're going to get a certificate as long as you accomplish the evaluation right after our session. Okay, so again, teachers, enjoy the session. I'll be in the chat if you need me, and I'll be interacting with you in the chat. Okay, good luck, Teacher Reggie.
All right, Sir Franco, thank you very much. So once again, good afternoon to our teachers and practice teachers in the whole world. So I feel so elated that I am one of the speakers for this February series of Kaagapay Teacher Support to share my knowledge and skill on the topic that I'm going to discuss for today. So once again, good afternoon. Before we begin to our session for today, let's activate our prior knowledge of the tools and apps that we are using or that we have been using in our instruction. So let's familiarize some tools, and I will present the logo of this tool or app, and then comment your answer in the chat box. Okay, teachers? So first one, what logo is this one? What tool or application is this? So let me see from the in the chat box. So this tool is usually used during when you create a quiz. So what tool is this? Yes. So we have Sir. Okay. So we have Ma'am Leila, Ma'am Mayros, and yes, it's correct. It's Kahoot. How about this one? Okay. So this is word processor, the Microsoft Word. How about this? Okay. So this is Minecraft Education. Okay. How about this one? Yes, it's Pear Deck. All right. How about this one? It's Blogger. All right. So this is a Blogger. How about this digital tool? All right. So this is Book Creator. Okay. How about this? Yes, this is Flipgrid. Okay, I think this is familiar to all of you. Yes, this is Google Forms. How about this digital tool? All right, this is Edpuzzle. Okay, how about this one? Adobe Creative Cloud. So in the Adobe Creative Cloud, we have different tools that we can use. It is actually a cloud-based platform. How about this one? It's Google Keep. All right. Okay, another, this. I think this is usually being used by teachers when they try to engage their students or to, yes, this is what we call Jamboard or Google Jamboard. How about this? Google Slides. All right. How about this digital tool? Okay, so this is Google Docs. Oh, familiar tayong lahat dito, teachers. We call it PowerPoint. This one, Wakelet. All right. How about this? Okay, so this is Google Classroom. All right. So it seemed that you got all the correct answers. And the question is, when do you use these apps and tools, my dear teachers? Kailan nyo ba ginagamit itong applications and tools? Or these EdTech tools? When do we use? Okay? After answering the question, when do we use this tool? It follows another set of questions, like what specific tool are you going to use? Why are you going to use these tools or applications? Okay? Where specific content or part are you going to use? And who are your intended users? And how are you going to use or how are you going to employ or utilize these tools? So just like in any manual of operations or procedures for intended specific users, we need to design how teachers or how users come to accept and use technology. This is the tenet of technology acceptance model. So in light of this, the acceptability and usability is emphasized. Our session for today is something that we will explore how to use a guide to ensure a carefully designed and crafted educational resource, which is the SAMR or SAMR model. We will guide our teachers on how to effectively use EdTech tools in the new normal of education. So, I am Regiboy B. Fabro, a faculty from College of Teacher Education, Mariano Marcos State University. For the overview of our lesson or session, there is no denying that ICT has significantly changed or impacted the way of teaching and learning in education for decades, as it has been continuously bringing remarkable changes. However, kung napansin natin teachers, transitioning to the new normal of learning has compelled many universities to immediately shift to distance learning modalities, requiring teachers to integrate and implement ICT-based resources in order to address the needs and interests of the diverse learners. With this, there is a paradigm shift to integrate ICT in the pedagogical process to aid the acquisition of knowledge and skills needed for the first 21st century. The use of different communication tools, such as mobile technologies, we have televisions, we have radio, which is actually being used by our by the deaf ed, no? And of course, we also have the computers, internet, etc., are being used to augment learning. So these ICTs are being used to increase the learning experiences of the learners, enhances critical thinking, empowers to be more productive. It serves as a channel to motivate learners for active engagement, and it helps improve learners' performance. With these multifarious benefits of ICT in education, it really plays a big role in the development and holistic learning of students, and as well as for the improvement of pedagogical processes. In the context of education, while we were transitioned to the new normal of education, with this educational change of our pedagogy, a number of studies have been conducted to investigate the preparedness of Filipino teachers to switch to distance learning education, specifically under utilization of digital tools in their virtual classroom. While it is true that ICT plays a big role in education, teachers are then encouraged to utilize ICT resources such as online interactive platforms, collaboration tools, learning management systems, mobile computing, content management systems, etc. So these resources are just few of the trends of ICT that may benefit the teachers in aid of designing instructional materials to be used in the teaching learning process. And all of these things are actually geared for these three purposes. We use ICT or the tools for instructional purposes. We use ICT tools for engagement purposes. And actually, we use it for assessment purposes. With this, to promote a meaningful learning, integration of ICT to teaching is imperative. Thus, instructional resources should be purposive and effective. The increased presence of new ICT tools in the classroom, however, do not assure improved teaching and learning, according to Chen. For her, teachers' level of competence with technologies is one of the problems and has been shown to be a strong determinant of their level of technology integration in the classroom. It was also followed by Cosma 2003, where she argued that there are teachers who claim that the present technology in the classroom creates pressure on teachers and requires effective use. So, the integration of ICT in teaching has brought challenges to teachers, as many of them have been hesitant to integrate ICT into their teaching. With these problems or concerns, it remains unclear how to effectively utilize ICT in teaching. There are still gaps among teachers on how to utilize ICT integration in their instructions properly. Some reasons identified are poor instructional resources design. We also have skepticism about the effectiveness of computers in improving learning outcomes. We also have lack of administrative support, increased time and effort needed to learn the technology, and proper utilization into teaching. My dear teachers, the gap that is evident here is the purposive and effective utilization of technology to pedagogy. So in this session, there is actually a guide or a practical guide for ICT integration that would enable teachers to effectively utilize ICT in their instructions. And that is the SAMR model. The SAMR model is used to support and enable teachers to design, develop, and infuse digital learning experiences that utilizes ICT for instructions. So our session is all about designing ICT-based resources using SAMR model. In designing, we have to take note of the concept in designing ICT-based resources. Design is integral to the production of things and artifacts. Design is a human-based approach to innovation because the end goal of design is to produce a tangible output, which it aims to establish creative ideas by focusing on the needs of the people. Design has a distinctive role in the education or in the evolution of education. Just like in our educational systems, we have been we have designed many programs. We design because of the demands of time. We design because we address the various needs and interests of our students. So there is a continuous design. Design is the defining activity of a developmental education. Design, therefore, actually, we as teachers are the curriculum designers. Design, therefore, is all about planning, which serves as the bedrock, the foundation, and the blueprint of instruction. In the context of education, design is all about planning. Yes, we plan, and this refers to our instructional design or the instructional design process, which consists of determining the needs of the learners. We also consider the goals and objectives of instruction and the assessment task that we are going to use. And of course, the learning activities to ensure quality of instruction. That is our ultimate purpose as teachers. It is in this light that we use the SAMR model, as you can see in your screen, my dear teachers. That we use the SAMR model as our guide to design educational resources, our ICT-based resources. The model was designed to support teachers to reflect on how they are using technology today while paving the way towards impacting their students' learning. The model consists of 4 levels. And as you can see, it moves through various stages from simple substitution to redefinition. In this model, each continuous level increases the tool's impact on the teaching learning instruction. Research shows that each level has influenced learning. The substitution and augmentation are considered enhancement steps because in this stage, you are just enhancing the task, the learning activity. And in the modification or redefinition, this is on the transformation because you are trying to redefine or transform the technology to be used for your learning objective. So, in the substitution, technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional improvement. What does it mean? You are just using a technology just to replicate a conventional way of teaching. Whereas in the augmentation, it's just part of the enhancement, but there is a direct substitute with functional improvement, meaning you have just added something to that particular activity using a technology. For the modification, the teacher allows for significant tasks to redesign, meaning you have modified the learning activity in a way that will help the students can be able to foster learning. And for the RAL definition, it allows for the creation of new tasks which were previously inconceivable. For instance, a teacher would give a task to allow student to type up notes or essay on a word processor. So that is on the substitution level. So instead of writing by hand in an exercise book or in a paper to compose an essay, we are going to use a Microsoft Word. Okay, so in here, substitution tools do not appear significantly shift the nature of learning, but digitally documenting a student's inquiries through substitution tools makes learning visible and provides formative feedback. While the augmentation is also directly substituted for a traditional one because it is still in the enhancement, this level has a significant enhancement to the students because of their experience and with functional change. Like, for example, taking the example of the word processor, where you give them an activity to compose an essay using word processor. In the augmentation, you are about to add something more features by creating or giving more efficient and engaging activities, like you give images, text can be added, or hyperlink can be also involved or integrated in that augmentation. With this, there are now features of adding elements like images, like videos, like hyperlinks, and that's the augmentation part. For the modification level, it is where this approach begins to move from enhancement to transformation. Instead of replacement or enhancement, this level is actual change of the design of the lesson and its learning outcome. For example, you might be giving to your students setting up a blog, which is a blogger tool, where the students could be accountable for their work to present. So they will tend to spend more time refining their written work. In this way, the student learning and literacy improve. Okay? So the last stage of the SAMR model is basically the redefinition, and it represents the pinnacle or the apex of this model. In here, the teacher asks herself to what specific technology can be used to redefine a traditional task in a way that would not be possible without the technology. For example, if you have used the substitution, a word processor, and for the augmentation, same tool, but it has added elements like the hyperlink, images, videos. And for the modification is the use of blog to publish. And for the rel definition, you can use for a Google Docs. A Google Docs that could be used to share with students around the world to collaborate on a shared assignment facilities and learning opportunities that would be impossible without such technology. And take note, in the Google Docs, you can able to make it inclusive, by which it has a feature that you can make it inclusive for students who do not have access to internet by making it available offline. So with these tasks, students can now redefine themselves. They can able to work with students around the world or for the whole class. Okay, moving on, another example is that the substitution, again, technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional change. So you are just replicating the traditional, but this time it is digital. So the students complete digital worksheets rather than the printed ones. So the tools that you have been using that that just a replicate of your traditional activities or learning activities are called substitution. Say, for example, when students create a science report on about anatomy of the human body or parts of the body, then they can use word processor. And for the augmentation, here it is where you incorporate multimedia elements, which has now consists of the elements like audio, video, or hyperlink, images, etc. So the augmentation does allow for students to utilize and benefit from interactive, take note of that, interactive digital elements. For example, your students in your computer class might create a report on the use of computers and incorporating multimedia elements like videos and images, or they can use other platforms or EdTech tools to create infographics based from the tasks that you have given. So that is augmentation. So think of the digital tools that you might use to create for on the augmentation level. Okay. Um, Here also in the modification, where technology allows for significant tasks to redesign. So meaning that in this stage focuses more on redesigning the lesson. For many teachers, modification looks like using the learning management system. Gumagamit po tayo ng mga LMS. Kung sa ating DepEd, they use the Google Classroom. In my university, in my school, we are using our own learning management system. It's a Moodle developed system. So in this part or level, the modification stage can also consist of having students collaborate with each other. It is also in this stage where you can provide feedback on the assignments that you have given, or you can now collect or give grades to your students. So example is that when you give your students to show a report or about on cells on Google Docs, and you provide peer feedback using comment on Google Docs, because there is a feature of the Google Docs that students can able to comment. Okay, or even in the Google Classroom, there is students can be able to comment on the submitted works of their classmates. And also, there is also a feature where you can give grades anchored with your rubric. So in the modification, it's now it's redesigning the task. For the redefinition, actually, this is the last part or the pinnacle of the model. In this stage, it focuses more on redesigning the lesson. Okay? And it is completely reimagining the lesson, because the technology that you're going to infuse is something that will redefine your objective, learning objective. An example that is often discussed in the context of the SAMR model is taking a virtual field trip, especially so that we are restricted. There is a mobility restriction and we cannot able to give the real field trips to our students. If we think of digital tools that could supplement this field trip, we can use the Google Earth, right? The Google Earth is will show or will present, display the places, the geographic locations with information, with distances, okay? And that students can be able to visualize or reimagine that this is the supposed location where they're supposed to go, okay? So in this part, they can have a virtual field trip to place students otherwise might not be able to visit. And for example, there are also things that they have never, or places that they have never seen before. Like, for example, if that is all about a pyramid of Egypt, the Eiffel Tower, or the Banawe Restaurants here in the Philippines, like that. So we can use the Google Earth. Taking into account the previous example where students are presenting their reports in class, we can use of different tools like Minecraft or stop motion studio to create a digital model, okay? Where we can use also Padlet to give each other feedback via comments. Or students create their final reports in Google Docs, incorporating, again, multimedia elements in their work, in their classroom, and teachers can provide feedback using the feature or rubric feature in the Google Classroom. All right? So there are actually many ways on how to give or use the tools, digital tools, using the SAMR model. Like, for example, the class tasks, note-taking, research, presentation, file sharing, reading, assessment. So these are all tools that we can use. Like, for example, when you have to give a quiz, instead of the pen and paper, you use the Google form to conduct the test. Now, that is what we call substitution. Okay? For the augmentation, you can actually give a timer by including add-ons, okay, in the Google Forms that will make the student aware of the time when having the quiz, when taking the quiz. And for modification, you can also create projects with Strip Designer, Show-Me, or iMovie till you can redefine that particular task. Another examples that we can share to teachers like this. For the substitution, the iPad is direct substitute with no functional change. So you are using, instead of using an actual geoboard to investigate fractions and shapes, students use the geoboard application. For the augmentation, instead of using interactive games that enhance learning, such as motion maths to explore fractions. Kaya maraming nag-gamify sa atin the use of tools for gamification, no? And also in the modification, students screen capture to shape the shapes they make on the Geoboard app and use them to create screencasts about their learning to share with others. And for the redefinition, students work with students from around the world as they try to figure out how proximity to the equator affects average daily temperature and hours of sunlight. So if you come to think of these teachers in the redefinition, there is the involvement of peers where these tools can now allow to collaborate with peers. So this means that we are fostering collaboration we are fostering creativity, we are fostering communication, and we are fostering critical thinking, as these are crucial in the 21st century skills. In selecting a digital tool to integrate into your instruction, we should start with the learning objective. Take note of this, my dear teachers, because the SAMR model prompts us to think about how we can improve our lessons and amplify learning through the use of technology. Me as a teacher, I prefer to focus on the learning goal first. Then I try to find ways to embed technology into the lessons in order to amplify the content and actual learning that takes place to consequently meet those goals. Again, if in order for you to utilize an effective tool, you have to consider your learning objective. Here, a comparison between the Bloom's model and the SAMR model. In the Bloom's model, the model helps teachers to describe the cognitive processes of students during learning with the use of verbs to promote higher order thinking skills. Bloom's taxonomy is crucial for teachers to identify students' level of thinking, whereas in the SAMR model, this model is essential for teachers to identify the tools that can be used to transform an instruction. The two are not the same and have different potential views of technology and education. One where the technology guides instruction, and the other where skillful teachers guide instruction supported by technological tools. So the SAMR model implies progressively complex ways that technology affects the teaching learning process, from tools that substitute to the tools that could redefine the task, and that the technology is seen as a tool that has the potential to impact the nature of teaching. So the Bloom's taxonomy is crucial for teachers to identify the level of students' levels of thinking. It supports students to develop higher order thinking, whereas the SAMR model infuse learning with technology in order to enhance and transform the experience. As an impact of using SAMR, for teachers, it will serve as a guide to the teachers to design instructional materials or resources and better learning activities for students. The use of SAMR will improve their educational objectives and learning outcomes, and that will drive for a meaningful and quality education. It will enable them to become more technology literate in response to the growing demands of utilizing technologies in the new normal of teaching. Moreover, it will enhance teachers' ICT knowledge and skills in utilizing ICT resources while paving the way towards impacting their students' future. For school administrators, this SAMR will encourage school administrators to extend their supports and provide teachers in terms of facilities and resources and professional developments of their teachers, like advanced training and seminars related to designing instructional materials. For students, as our beneficiaries, the clienteles of education, this will eventually increase and boost student engagement in the teaching learning process and promoting 21st century skills among students as they will be engaged with proper ICT-based learning activities. To give you a quote or for this session, we teachers are the expert as a teacher of your students at your school. For you, the SAMR model might be good fit. It is possible that it will not. You might also discover that some elements work for you, which is fantastic. and we don't have to be up static. As SAMR model reminds us, we don't have to make use of all the tools, applications, and technology all the time. We have the ability to be deliberate in our use of technology. We can utilize a framework to help us make decisions. And while we might strive for transformation, modification, and redefinition, we can also keep things simple when necessary. So this has been your uh, research speaker. I am Reggie Boy B. Fabro, again from Mariano Marcos State University. Thank you very much. And that ends my presentation, Sir Franco.
Okay, hello teachers, and thank you so much na Teacher Reggie for that very informative discussion on the SAMR model and how we can apply it in developing ICT-based resources. Okay, kanina maraming questions, so I think we can go over those questions. Okay, so teachers, we are now also open for some questions. If you have questions, please do let us know if there are things that you'd like to ask our speaker for today. Ayan. Okay? Pero siguro, Teacher Reggie, habang naghihintay tayo ng question, is that um, can you what are the challenges siguro that you have encountered in developing ICT based resources using the SAMR model?
One of the changes that we can not easily control is the technological advancement, the educational tools. And these are actually changes or actually problems that we can encounter because there are actually tools that may seem trend today for tomorrow, but for the next weeks to come, there are actually tools which will compel teachers to shift again for the use of these educational tools. However, we need to understand also that in utilizing technological tools, we need to consider our purpose. So whether it could be for instructional purpose, engagement, and assessment purpose. So these are problems actually that we encounter in developing some SAMR-based activities, the use of different technological tools or EdTech tools that it may seem be familiar today, but for tomorrow, it will now become obsolete.
This one is a question from Teacher Raymond Dizon. Okay? Kung sakali bumalik na sa face-to-face, hindi na online, magagamit pa po ba ang SAMR?
Yes, teacher. Because the SAMR model, regardless of learning modality, you can still apply the use of SAMR model because the SAMR model is just a practical guide for you teachers on how to effectively use technological tools. Okay, because I have mentioned a while back that substitution level, you are just replicating the traditional into a digital activity. So when the face-to-face will be back, therefore you can still use of tools that can substitute the learning activity. Actually, we have been using these ICT tools before the pandemic. So I guess we need to recalibrate ourselves, most especially so that this post-pandemic, it will give us more for us teachers to redesign our curriculum, and that we need to upskill, reskill ourselves in terms of the use of EdTech tools.
Indeed, siguro Teacher Raymond, you have to remember that SAMR is about technology integration. So regardless of modality, kung naka face-to-face, in-person, or online classes, SAMR model could actually be used to guide us in how to use and how we're using technology. Teacher Reggie, merong follow-up question from the question kanina on the challenges. Okay? So if you encounter those challenges that you've mentioned earlier, how did you make those challenges into opportunities?
Yes, that's a good question. The challenges will serve as our strength teachers for us to guide because the diverse needs of our students that will serve as a research for us, a research that could be uh, take the gap, to answer the gap in the classroom. Because with the use of EdTech tools, technological tools, this will strengthen our teaching learning opportunities, and that will serve as our opportunity. For instance, if you have found a technology, an EdTech tool that could supplement or address the gap in the classroom, then this could be possible as an action research. An action research that will be an opportunity for you, and of course it will promote you to a higher level of step in your academic in your position. So these are one of the opportunities. In
Thank you,
my
Teacher Ed.
case, just a follow up, a rejoinder, sir. In my case, we are we have studied the effectiveness of using blended instructional guide in designing ICT-based resources using SAMR model. So this one will give us if these are really effective or not. So as I have mentioned a while back in my last part, that teachers are the expert in terms of technology in the classroom. It's just that the framework, the model, the SAMR model is a practical guide that will support our learning activities, our learning objectives to promote a transformative education.
Okay, thank you, Teacher. Yan, lumabas na si Teacher Pau. Teacher Pau, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Ayan.
Hello, good
Siyempre,
afternoon, Teacher Pao.
humahabol ako, Sir Reggie, no? Mamaya magtatanong din ako after this question of Sir Ivan Shane. Good afternoon to all kaagapay, no? Nasa background lang naman ako. Kung substitution lang po ba ang na-implement sa klase, can we claim na we are using the SAMR model?
As like what I said a while back, that in selecting a digital tool, we should always consider our learning objective. If our learning objective is just to conduct a test, a quiz, and that you are going to use a digital tool, like for example, Google Forms, and that is considered as substitution. And substitution is part of the SAMR model. So that means we are actually, or we have been actually using the four levels, but siguro hindi lang natin na nakakaligtaan na ito pala yung substitution, ito pala yung augmentation, ito pala yung tinatawag na modification, ito pala yung tinatawag na redefinition. But if we actually want to make our learning objective in a higher level, or it could redefine the learning task, then we should use the redefinition, the pinnacle of the SAMR model. But teachers take note that in our lesson planning, we should not always incorporate the four levels, because sabi ko nga, we need to consider the learning objective. So if this is meant only for substitution, then go for it. Because there are some some wrong notions that in creating their lesson exemplar, they have to use all the levels, which is no, because it's still you still have to observe your learning objective. Okay, so if it's only meant for substitution, then go for substitution. But if you would like to transform your learning objective into redefinition, then go for the redefinition.
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Teacher Ed. Siguro lang, reminder lang, teachers, no, is that never use SAMR model for the sake of just using it. Okay? Siguro yung a very important reminder for all of us, no? Okay? Hindi mo siya gagamitin dahil, for example, sikat siya, o kaya just to brag about, I'm using SAMR model. Okay? There's always that very definite purposive use of the SAMR model. Hanggang sabi nga natin kanina, the SAMR model is all about telling you how you're using technology. Okay, so malalaman mo dun, I'm substituting. Okay, in this lesson, I'm modifying my instruction using technology, or augmenting, or even redefining. No? Okay, so hindi talaga siya dapat ginagamit, no, ng walang particular purpose. Okay, so
Sir
ito naman
Franco.
question. Go ahead,
Sir
teacher.
Franco, yeah. Ito yung kanina pa kaya ako pumasok. Kasi ito talaga yung tanong ko because I've heard about SAMR model before, no? And there's a lot of talks in KPS about SAMR model. Pero how essential is the knowledge of SAMR model in planning the lesson? I mean, di ba, before, pag nagtuturo tayo ng mga theories, ganyan, hindi mawawala si Maslow, hindi mawawala si Bloom. How essential is SAMR in education right now? Or it's just a matter of naming ba? Parang ganon. Kasi I'm sure tayo ngayon, graduate na ako, so hindi ko na to maaaral sa school. Hindi ko sure kung natuturo siya sa college ngayon. Pero how essential is it, Sir
I think
Reggie?
the some yes, Teacher Pau. I think some R model is one is being taught in college, especially in technology learning 2, which this is a guiding principle. It's actually a framework for creating instructional materials, which the SAMR model as a guide. No? The essence of SAMR model, as shown by research, is that there is actually an impact of learning per level. So that impact, for example, and the substitution, modification, it will gradually, from enhancement to transformation, it will gradually make an impact to your students. Like what I have said a while back, that the essence or the impact of using some are to teachers, to administrators, and students is that for teachers, they will be effectively using the right technology tool for their classroom to drive a meaningful and quality education. And that for students, of course, they will be increase and boost their student engagement in the teaching learning process, as we are always promoting 21st century skills among students, and they will be engaged with proper ICT-based learning activities. Also, if you think of the Bloom's taxonomy, Teacher Pau, is that while it's true that the pinnacle of it is promoting higher order thinking skills, the some are can somewhat be associated with it because you are trying to promote also or infuse the right technology to transform learning for us to have a meaningful learning. So I think that is the essence of using this framework. Aside from the other frameworks that we know, such as the TPAC, the technology acceptance model, the ADI, etc. So these are all models. After all, these are all guides in our instruction to promote quality instruction.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Sir
Teacher
Reggie.
Reggie. Yes. Actually, Teacher Pau, I think the significance of the summer model also is like significantly increase, especially in the 21st century, lalo na ngayon, ano, amidst the pandemic, kasi nagsulputan kasi lahat ng mga technology. Like, sobrang
Yes.
dami mong biglang applications, strategies, approaches na pwede mong gamitin, no, in technology integration. And what the SAMR model no gives you is that it raise some sort of awareness to the teacher, okay? Kasi for all we know, no, Teacher Pao, no, we're all using technology already prior to the pandemic, okay? Pero gaano ka ka-aware kung gaano mo ginagamit yung technology? So yun yung biggest question doon. And the SAMR model gives you that awareness na, okay, ang paggamit mo niya sa technology na yan, oh, nag-substitute ka. Okay? Dito nagmo-modify ka. And with that kind of awareness, no, you can create that much variation horizontally and vertically, no, in that model in order to, kasi hindi ka pwede, although hindi natin minamalit yung substitution, no, kasi meron talagang mga substitution level lang talaga ang kailangan natin, no, pero hindi ka pwedeng laging nandun. Okay? What the SAMR model tells you is that there are more ways to explore technology. Na hindi ka lang kailangan laging substitute, okay? Pwede mo rin siya, baka pwede namang tomorrow or next unit plan, mag-augmentation ka naman. Okay? But of course, that will still depend on your learning objectives, okay? And the overall demands of your unit plans. Okay? So, ako talaga, the SAMR model gives you that very important awareness and makes it no more purposive yung technology integration natin.
Tama.
Hindi siya randomized, no? Yung ano natin. Okay? This one is from teacher Jeffrey Beltran. Okay? Is there a right time in the instructional process to utilize tech?
Yes. So kanina, present ko the 5W and 1H question. When do you use, how do you use, what do you use, and why do you use this EdTech tool? So in designing, you have to really see if, where, or when, or what, or how are you going to utilize these tools in the instructional process. Because you are the curriculum designer. So you should know when to use this tool. For example, in a unit, in your lesson planning, okay, so in the evaluation part, I will be using the Google Forms. Okay, in the extended part, I will be using this kind of tool, something like that. Because you are designing, you are using the right technology. Okay, so yan, that's it. There should be a right time for using instructional process. We should not bombard ourselves in every learning activity. There is always a tech tool or educational digital platforms. We should not refrain from doing that because we should always also consider the acceptability and the availability of our students in the use of this platform. Kasi minsan, hindi alam gamitin ng mga bata and that will take you a long time or it would take you for a time to discuss the usability of that platform. So you have to know that this tool is appropriate to your learners also. And hindi na porket ang ganda nun, nakita mo lang sa isang training, nakuha mo lang sa isang training, and then you would like now to show or present it to your classroom, hindi pa rin ganon. You have also to consider their knowledge of that. Siguro kailangan mo natin introduce yung tool na yon, and then by the time that these students know that the platform, kasi nga tinitignan natin yung UI, yung kanilang user interface and the user experience, kailangan natin i-consider yan. So as designers of our curriculum, of our instructional lessons, we need to consider when do we use these tools as part of the SAMR model.
Thank you, Teacher Reggie. I think it's, Teacher Paolo, every time is a good time as long as na-consider nyo lahat yung sinabi ni Teacher Reggie, no? Yung students, yung context, yung resource. May question din actually, Teacher Reggie, eh. How about dun sa mga public school na may problema sa, yung mga students natin from the public schools, sometimes may problem sa access to technologies. Again, dapat hindi nagiging problem yung kung na-consider mo siya dun sa design pa lang, no, ng instruction mo tsaka technology integration. There's a very good question from Teacher May Baiza Versosa from the chat, no. Ano po ang significance ng pagiging aware ng students at teachers sa SAMR model? May significant value po ba ito sa mga bata at guro aside from being aware of the labels?
Yes, Teacher May Baiza Versosa. So there is a really significant impact to our students, but especially to teachers. Teachers as the curriculum designers, and the students are the beneficiaries of our own design. So this SAMR model will really guide the teachers to design instructional ICT resources and better learning activities for activities. When we say better learning activities for students, this should be we are guided by the SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented, and time-bound. So with this better learning activities for students, the students as beneficiaries, they will be engaged with the proper ICT-based learning activities, which was designed by you as a teacher. So that's significant also. That value will promote or drive to a quality instruction. For example, if you have seen that the impact of this tool, for example, the Google Earth, that there is a value that you can able to use this for a field trip to class, then students will be engaged. Ganito pala yung view ng Eiffel Tower, ganito pala yung Banawe Rice Terraces. With that, students can have now the imagination that by the time that they will, for instance, makikita nila on the spot yon, at least meron na silang knowledge about doon sa place na yon. So that actually the value of the SAMR model, from enhancement to transformation. So we need to consider that SAMR model. Yan.
Pero siguro, Teacher Reggie, no? Huwag natin i-discuss sa students yung SAMR itself, no? Kasi meron pa tayong gagawa pa tayo ng unit for them, no? Hindi na kailangan teachers, no? if you design your unit plans instruction very well using the SAMR model and the technology integration in your unit plans, no, it will appear, no, it will be felt by your students na tumataas yung level ng paggamit nila ng technology sa classes mo. Hindi mo na kailangan i-label na, okay, class, today we'll be doing modification, something like that. Hindi na kailangan, teachers, no? That's not something that we need. And by the way, no, speaking of which, ang ganda ng isang comment from teacher Hamdi Hussein, no, parents should also be educated about technology. Tama naman, no? Lalo na ngayon sa online classes, as well as to help us from home assisting their kids, no? Especially, lalo na, grabe yung reliance na natin sa mga parents, okay, who are at home. Okay? Eto, may isang interesting question from teacher, I think this is from teacher Ferdy Villarmino. Okay? I think the question is something about when to use, how can I improve or learn to use or not to use technology? What are your advice? Meron bang times na that there's really a time to use it? Parang kanina sagot natin to, no? Yung proper time of using technology and not using technology. So let's just move on, no, to our next question is on, can I have, this is from teacher Arlene Alberto, can I have an example task or class activity how SAMR model be used in English class? Okay. I can share something about this, no? Pero let's have teacher Reggie first.
Yes, like for example, for a composition of an essay, no, for the composition of an essay, you can able to use on the substitution level, you can able to use word processor or the word application, where the principle is that the traditional way of writing to the pen and paper is now substituted by the word processor. So that is the substitution. For the augmentation is that for the composition of essay, you can ask your students to put pictures, no? They can have it through hyperlinks with an embed of multimedia elements like music, like audio, like that. So these are multimedia elements. So that augmentation, there has been an added elements to the activity which is composing an essay. And for the modification part is that they can able to use Google Docs to modify the learning task where there is a collaboration on the part of students where they can able to make comment of the activity, where there is also the feature of translating the language to something like Chinese or French. So that is the modification, or you can able to have feedback on the modification. Okay, so for the redefinition, actually, we can able to share with students who can contribute for a better activity or for a better essay. So in that, students can be able to, for example, shared with students worldwide, or they can make it through blogging, where you can able to use some or video shoot themselves to create a more redefined activity. So parang trina-transform mo na into a higher level of learning doon sa paggamit ng redefined tools or the redefinition tools. Maraming mga examples dito. Actually, yun din yung magiging pinapatraining namin sa ibang teachers on how to use these tools from substitution to transformation. Ayun.
Yeah. Thank you. Maraming salamat na teacher. Actually, yun din yung example ko, no? Pero siguro ma-add ko lang sa pag redefinition teachers, no, ang essential question dyan is that can you do it without technology? Okay?
Yes.
Pag nasasagot mo pa yan, no, wala ka pa sa redefinition. But once you can answer that you can't do it without technology, then you have completely transformed and redefined the task already. Okay? Ang isa sa mga naisip ko rin dito, Teacher Arlene, you might want to explore Google Earth. Ginagamit si Google Earth for lit trips. Okay? So you can design your novels, no, or discussion of novels, okay, in Google Earth. So what they do in Google Lit Trips is they trace the movement of the main characters around the globe using Google Earth. For example, pumunta siya sa country na to, pumunta siya sa country na to. Actually, I'm planning to use this to teach my students in Ateneo, not actually English class, pero on a similar strand. I'm going to use Google Earth to teach my students about the life of Jose Rizal. So I'll be tracing the movement of Jose Rizal from his first sojourn to the second sojourn until he was executed at Bagong Bayan. So hanggang doon sa Bagong Bayan. Okay? So papakita ko sa mga students yung time na nag-aral siya sa Europe and then kung saan pa siya pumunta prior to his execution. That kind of storytelling using technology elevates and you can't do that without technology unless you're really going to go out there and really bring them and you are rich enough to actually bring your students on a field trip, although we can't do that right now because we are in a pandemic. Okay. Teacher, siguro last question natin, Teacher Reggie, for this afternoon. Okay. This is from Teacher Manolita White. How is SAMR and Bloom's taxonomy related to each other? Although I think that was discussed earlier, maybe we can try to summarize that part, Teacher Reggie.
Okay, so the correlation of the SAMR model and that Bloom's model is that both of them are actually promoting higher order thinking. So, for instance, like sa Bloom's model, it supports students to develop higher order thinking, and that of SAMR model, it infuses learning with technology in order to enhance and transform the experience. So with that, it's actually crucial for all teachers to identify students' level of thinking. And that for the SAMR model, it is essential for teachers to identify the tools that can be used to transform and the instruction. That's it.
Hindi po sila magkaaway, teachers, no? Hindi magkaaway si Blooms at si Sama. Actually, kanina kahit si Pikrat, si Rat Model, si Tipak, hindi po yan magkakaaway. Kahit si Adi Model. Those are models that we can get the essence of and then try to combine them based on our own experiences as educators. Yan. Okay. So yan. Nagpapasmile na si Teacher Benver Crix kasi mag-screenshot na siya. Para hindi po tayo nako-caught on action. Yan. Teacher Benver, screenshot ka na habang nakasmile pa kami. Yan. Para maganda yung screenshot natin, Teacher Pao, no? Kasi parang last time, biktima na rin si Teacher Pao nung in-action phase, no? Pagdating sa mga screenshot. Yeah. Thank you, Teacher Benver, for always letting us know about the screenshot time. Okay, so teachers, let us, we'll now to conclude the session, but before we say goodbye to Teacher Reggie, of course, please send your thanks, appreciation to Teacher Reggie. And of course, if you need to contact him, you can contact him through Kaagapay Teacher Support. We'll connect him to you. We'll also be asking for the presentation later, if with the permission of Teacher Reggie, we'll be sharing the presentation to all of you at our Kaagapay Teacher Support page. Okay? But of course, Teacher Pao, before tayo magpaalam kay Teacher Reggie, let's first show appreciation through this certificate of appreciation.
Okay, so at this point, thank you, Teacher Reggie, and we are so blessed to have you, and I'm sure all the teachers are. And as part of our thanks, as mentioned by Sir Franco, we are presenting to you our certificate of appreciation, which proves to be your certificate of achievement to Sir Reggie Fabro for sharing his knowledge and expertise in the recently concluded webinar entitled Designing ICT-based Resources Using SAMR Model, awarded today, February 5, 2022, signed by the Kaagapay Administrator, Sir Angelo Malyari, Sir Joseph Angelo Santos, myself, and Sir Franco Nicolo Adon. Thank you so much, Sir Reggie. I'm sure lahat talaga sobrang first time narinig SAMR, na-refresh sa SAMR, na-aware sa SAMR. Sabi ko nga, 2010 pa kasi siya, 2010 lang siya na-introduce. No? So, hindi ko pa siya talaga inabot nung college. Ayan. Thank you so much, Sir Reggie.
Sir Reggie, bago tayo magpaalam, is we'd like to ask a short message from you for all our teachers who are watching right now.
Well, my message to all teachers and of course to practice teachers who are with us today is that Teachers, actually, we are catalysts of change. So we are actually the designers of curriculum. So we need to emphasize that we need to be adaptive and resilient to the evolving needs of our students, and so that the demands of time. So we need to be stay strong in all adversities. Thank you very much. Yan, sir and ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Sir Reggie. Magpaalam na po tayo kay Sir Reggie. No, Sir Reggie, paalam po. And maraming salamat again for gracing our event. Yan, Teacher Pao, maraming salamat. Okay. And
Thank you.
yes. Okay, pero siguro bago tayo paalam sa mga teachers natin is that we'd like to once again invite them to our next event that's next week, Feb 10. Actually, napasabay pa yan kasi birthday ng Kambal yan, Feb 10, 5 to 7 p.m. Digitizing productivity in Google Workspace for the. Pero against, ang celebration naman namin will be on Feb 12 kasi Thursday yan, may pasok pa kami, may pasok pa yung mga bata. We would like to invite the teachers at our session on digitizing productivity with Google Workspace for Education. Yan, bongga Teacher Pao, kahit yung productivity, i-digitize na rin natin ngayon.
Yun na nga.
How do we use it?
I'm sure inaabangan niya ng lahat ng teachers, no?
Oo. Tsaka lalo na, laging dami natin kasi ginagawa. Laging, we're always swamped with work, no? And I think, while we always ask that sana ma-deload tayo ng konti mga teachers, but the fact is that parang mas lumadami pa yung trabaho natin. So while we're waiting for the deloading to happen at mabawasan yung workload natin, let's first discover tools that can help you survive your heavyweight workload, teachers. So we will see you again on next week, Thursday. Maraming. And of course, yes, of course, teachers, ito na for your evaluation. Okay, so please accomplish this evaluation link for you to be able to get your certificates. Okay. Teacher Pao, marami nagtatanong sa akin last time, kasi hindi pa tayo nagre-replay ng January series natin. So teachers, don't worry, we'll be opening the replay of the entire January series. So pwede po kayong replay ng all episodes for the January series. Okay? That's going to be opened on Friday next week, Feb 11. Okay? That's going to be a whole week of replay, and you can get your certificates from each of the episodes.
Okay. Baka lang sila, Sir Franco, check lang natin yung header. It's designing ICT-based naman, kasi yung sumunod ata is gamified.
Yes, baka malito lang sila. Let's check on that as well, Teacher Pao.
Sige.
That they are not confused, no?
Confused.
Yeah, baka hindi pa napalitan yung header natin.
Sige, habang chine-check mo yan, Sir Franco. Yeah, I was thinking kanina pa, everyone was asking, kailan ba ito gagamitin? Saan ba ito gagamitin? Magagamit ko ba ito actually? Or dapat ba siyang gamitin? No? So I think the focus here is the use of technology. And, technology can be used, really, at this point, no? Parang pwede pa bang hindi gumamit ng technology? Parang iniisip natin minsan, imposible na. But what we have to keep in mind is that whenever we use technology, it should aid our instruction. It should not become a distraction to the attainment of the goals, no? So, yung tipong kaya naman palang gawin ng mas madali, humirap lang dahil hindi niya magawa dahil sa technology, pero kaya naman siyang gawin pala ng walang technology. Yung ganon, na yung technology pa yung magiging hindrance. So, let's look at that, no, when we design, no, our lessons with the aid of technology. Yun lang.
Yes. Okay. And I think siguro, Teacher Pao, again, sabi nga natin kanina is that the idea here is that it brings more awareness. Yung hindi, kasi pag ginamit mo kasi sa SAMR model, it in a way puts pressure on really thinking about it. It's really asking you to think about how you're going to use or how do you intend to use the technology. So it's not like a randomized use of technology na, ay, gusto ko itong gamitin. Parang ganun. May class ako mamaya. Parang gusto ko itong gamitin tong tool na to kasi narinig ko from another teacher or nakita ko from a webinar. So, the SAMR model makes sure that you are using technology in a very purposive, and siguro very, in a way, what's the term? intentional. Yun siguro, Teacher Pao, yung word, no?
Yes.
Intentional na paggamit ng technology because
Yes.
that will drive effective use of technology.
Yes, correct. I agree. I agree to that intention. No? You started that intention.
Yeah.
Yan.
So I think, Teacher Pao, the link is working and our
Yes.
teachers are now evaluating na. So again, teachers, maraming salamat for joining us once again here at Kaagapay Teacher Support. Teacher Pao, maraming salamat din.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Franco. See you next week.
See you next
Bye,
week, teachers.
everyone.
Paalam.